yourself, you are somewhat, classified out of, you are banished out of the men's group. I particularly would not call it vanity, because again, we are beginning to see men essentially love themselves. We have had a lot of
The quality of your beards,
yes,
that's new.
yes. So the quality in the sense that we have had a lot of guys struggle for months for their beards to connect. Men with beards are, almost referred to as the guys at the top chain, correct? Why
So,
men that are struggling to grow beards, we always refer to them as ladies.
welcome to Beauty Beyond Skin, where we dive into the world of beauty secrets, skincare innovations, lifestyle, and aesthetic treatment. I am your host, Abby Bakari, CEO and founder of Flawless Aesthetic Center. Each episode would explore latest trends, share expert insights, and bring you inspiring stories from industry leaders and influencers. Whether you're a beauty enthusiast or looking to elevate your self care routine, this podcast is your go to source for everything beauty and aesthetics. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today on a different episode of Beauty Beyond Skin. And today, we're going to be talking about the rise of male aesthetics in Nigeria. For the past 5 years, we've seen a huge trend with men now becoming more aware about aesthetics. So, with me today, I have Mr. Temitayo Brown. Thank you for joining us today. You're here flawless every day.
Yeah.
You get to see that men actually do come in for some form of medical treatment or the other, right? Really, is it vanity, or is it just something that you feel like men are becoming more aware of now?
Again, thank you very much for having me. Particularly would not call it vanity, because again, we are beginning to see men essentially love themselves. Growing up then, I mean, the mid 90s down to the early 2000s, men are just like, we are just blunt. We are just boys. You don't necessarily have to do anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, it was, essentially considered then as a boy or as a man, if you are doing anything extra to yourself, you are somewhat, classified out of, you are banished out of the men's group. But these days, I mean, we have seen men, rising up to the occasion. And I would particularly tie it to everything starting from when, you know, the beard gang became a fashion. So a lot of,
Wait.
yeah,
You the beard gang. What is that?
yeah, okay.
Let's
So
let's talk about that.
all right. So I mean, the beard gang again, it's more or less like a class for men, correct?
A class.
Yes, it serves as a class for men that have steez and are well composed. So more often than not, with men are essentially men with beards are, almost referred to as the guys at the top chain, correct? Why
So
men that are struggling to grow beards, we
mhm.
always refer to them as ladies.
So is that a class and a prestige thing? Like the more bears you have, the I'm trying to understand.
Yes, so again, for in those times, we are always looking at two core things,
Mm-hmm.
correct? The quality of your beards and of course the fullness of it. Basically, we have had a lot of
The quality of your beards.
yes,
That's new.
yes. So the quality in the sense that we have had a lot of guys struggle for months for their beards to connect. They literally struggled. Some even go as far as applying methylated spirits, on their faces to, I
Hmm.
don't know, probably trigger some sort of additional hair
Hair
growth and all
growth.
of that. And that has obviously not been working for a lot of people. But for those that have experienced really rapid transformational change between how they look with and without beards, most of them are easily tied to, the advent of, the beard oil, the massage, and then the entire beard kit. So that I would say is, one of the early kickoffs for men really coming into the aesthetic industry. Now, the other point that I'm also going to raise is, and this again, this is me speaking from, of course, a personal point of view,
Yeah.
because this again has happened to me. I wasn't born. I think I've grown darker because obviously, as a guy, then we spend most of our time under the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and we had absolutely no idea the damage that the sun was doing to our
Right.
skin. So I was pretty much very fair. More often than not, when I even look at my pictures from the early 90s and I look at my current picture, I'm like, what exactly happened? Correct, because I've grown darker. But since like 2017, that some of us latched onto the concept of sunscreen. We have been able to maintain some, a level of complexion with our
Right.
skin and all of that. So even for a person like me that is very I'm into a lot of sporting activities, from football to basketball and all of that. We have now gravitated towards the point where we even apply sunscreens every Saturday morning before we go for
Before
ball,
you go out.
because we understand that you you'd get really intrigued in the game that you forget that the sun is actually damaging your skin. So yeah, I mean, from like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I've seen men really coming up to speed with aesthetics.
So it's funny. Let's go back to the beard gang because that's
Yeah,
funny because we see a lot of. I didn't really understand. Well, thank you for shedding more lights on the whole beard situation because, as you know, we have clients here who come in here and they want to get the PRP injections, which would help grow their beards back.
correct.
So I thought it was more of a fashion statement. I didn't realize it was tied to some form of prestige. So is it that the more beards you have, the more manly you are? Was that correct?
Yeah, well, that's really close to being correct, actually. I
Okay,
mean, you make a lot of statements with a man. A man with beards make a lot of statements without saying anything than a man without beards.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Well, something new to learn every day.
yeah,
Yeah, and then again, I'm glad you touched on the sunscreen because the sunscreen is something that we preach here. Every client of ours, we preach that you always have to use your sunscreen. Again, it's not because to keep you lighter, but just to protect your skin, really. That helps you stay younger, right? Prevents you from aging prematurely.
yeah.
It also protects your skin from cancer. It
Hmm.
protects your skin. Basically, it's when it comes to the 101 skincare, sunscreen is. So I'm actually glad to know that before you guys are out in the sun, you're actually ensuring that you put on some form of sunscreen.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, I think this essentially happened at the beginning of this year, where I even had to get much more insights around the sunscreen. Where one of my friends was essentially telling me that, look, regardless of whether you are going out or not, because again, I'm almost like an indoor person. Apart from when I have to go to sport or
Mm-hmm.
I have to go for work, I love being indoors playing game. So it's always, he hinted that even the sun rays that are coming into your apartment, probably through your
Yeah.
window, whatnot, would also need your skin needs to be protected from that. So I'm like, so you mean once I wake up in the morning and then I take my bath, um, applying my normal body lotion, and I'm also applying a sunscreen, even when I know I'm not going out? He said
It's
absolutely
important.
yes, and I'm like, wow, really, really wow. So
It's
I
important.
mean,
Very.
yeah. So I mean, again, we are again, like I said, we are seeing a lot of men jumping onto this because every man has. I mean, we have come to this sense of belonging that look, at the end of the day, we are growing older every day.
Hmm.
It's our duty to essentially stay young, keep your composure, keep your steez at all points in time.
Looking your best.
Yeah, looking your best.
So let's talk about men in Nigeria
Yeah.
now, because we're here in Nigeria.
Mhm.
So, what do you see a lot of men, besides just the sunscreen or trying to grow their beards, what is your own take on like when you see men here? And we deal with a lot of high profile clients here.
Yeah.
So, when you see them walk into the practice or make calls for inquiries about aesthetics, right? Because we having men do Botox, fillers, pretty much everything really that the woman does, the men are doing it as well.
Mhm.
So when you see this, really, what really comes? How do you process this as a guy?
Well, I'm going to be as truthful as possible. From when the influx initially started, probably I think mid last year, it kind of got me wondering that, hold up, what's going on here? I think there was even a point in time where about 75% of our clientele base that we saw at, I think, probably October of 2023
Mm-hmm.
were dominated by men. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so what exactly is happening? Correct. And then we had to go down to, because again, as I've always said, I always do not like to assume. We always like to understand what is actually obtainable.
Mm-hmm.
So of course we reached out to some of these men to understand what is obtainable, and they're like that. And I'm talking about men now in their 40s and above, correct? Men
Right.
that in their 40s, they're like, that their wives have left them behind in terms of aging. That the woman that they are saying that they got married to some probably 15, almost 20 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, is almost as though she's not aging.
Like
And
she's their daughter, right?
like you and we're like, look, I need to know what exactly you are doing and I need to start doing it.
Right.
Correct. And then of course we see some men interacting with some of these things and then they are coming up to speed. And then for their other sect of men, and I believe this is essentially tied to what is obtainable, in the entire world these days, where everybody wants to be in front of the camera, everybody's, creating content. I mean, when you look at the likes of Tony Ilumelu,
Yeah.
basically, you see him creating content on TikTok, creating content about his exercises and all of that. That's true. The matter is that that's where the world is heading
Mm-hmm.
into, where everybody must not shy away from the camera. But if for nothing, you should even be looking for a camera to go and stand upon. And men have come to this consciousness that they want to look their best, basically. And of course, for we here at Flawless, again, when we essentially pushed out our Meva therapy, which is essentially for men, we have seen that astronomical growth in it because
A huge
men are
growth.
really, really buying into it. So it's
A
almost as
huge
though
growth. Yeah.
this has been a need, but it was not supplied all the while. So when we, initially launched, it was more or less like you opened the floodgate and everybody was just, trying to rush in. Because what exactly is the issue here? The Meva therapy is essentially solving several core issues. Number one, we are ensuring that men are staying their optimum best in terms of their wellness, and
Mm-hmm.
then they are staying their optimum best sexually. So a man, can perform in the boardroom, but also perform exclusively well in the bedroom. So a lot of men are essentially, keying into this. And trust me, once men start dredging into this, I'm not sure in Nigeria we're going to have the capacity in terms of aesthetics to actually cater for the entire, man base.
All right, guys. So we've heard so much about male aesthetics in Nigeria, and we've also heard about how much it's grown.
Mm.
You know, here the practice, basically like what Mr. Brown has said, from last year, October, we just saw this huge surge in, having a bunch of male patients. It started a couple of years ago, but for some crazy reason, I'm not really sure what happened last year, but we've just seen this huge surge with men coming in, wanting to get, treatments done, looking good, staying young. It has become a popular trend here now. So we're seeing a lot of men now really wanting to really take good care of themselves, from just basic grooming to injectables to the Mava therapy, which is geared towards men, and just basically overall aesthetics. So again, when it comes to aesthetics, it's just not for women. Looking good, staying young, anti-aging is for everyone. You know, I'm really proud of the men out here in Nigeria because you would
Super
think
proud.
in Nigeria with the male culture, it's more of a macho thing, right? Where it's looked about like, oh, it's vanity. Why are men even doing this? But when I walk in and I see patients who are actually busy. These are like busy people, not people who don't have jobs. They're high profile clients, extremely busy, but then really taking that time out to take care of themselves. Everybody wants to look good. Looking good is never going to be out of fashion. So, again, for all the men out there, thank you so much for taking that time out to take care of yourselves. And if you haven't started the journey, it's not too late. You don't have to walk around with a pot belly. You don't have to walk around with, bad skin. You don't have to walk around just feeling not yourself. Again, the aesthetic industry is for everyone. So thank you, Mr. Brown, for talking about male aesthetics in Nigeria
You're
and
welcome.
just being able to shed more light and educating me today about the beer gang. So I didn't know that was a thing, but thank you for
Yeah.
letting me know about that.
Mhm.
And until next time, guys, we'll be seeing you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Beauty Beyond Skin. I hope you found our conversation insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay connected with us on social media for beauty tips, expert advice, and exclusive content. Until next time, remember, stay flawless and fearless.